The United States owes more than $36 trillion. That number is so huge, it is hard to imagine. But here is the strange part. America has never fully paid it back. And somehow, nobody can stop it. Not countries, not banks, not even the people lending America money. So how is this possible? The answer goes back more than 50 years to a secret deal. A deal made in the desert in 1974. A deal that changed the world forever. And whether you know it or not, you are paying for it right now. To understand this story, we need to go back in time. After World War II, the world needed a new financial system. Countries wanted stability. They wanted money people could trust. So in 1944, leaders from different countries came together. They created something called the Bretton Woods System.
The idea was simple. Most countries would connect their currency to the US dollar, and the US dollar would be backed by gold. America promised something important. Any country holding US dollars could exchange them for gold. This gave the world confidence. People trusted the dollar. For many years, the system worked. The US economy grew stronger. The dollar became the world's most trusted currency. But behind the scenes, problems were growing. America was spending huge amounts of money on wars, government programs, and rising costs at home. Slowly, America began running low on gold. Then something unexpected happened. Countries started asking for their gold back. France was one of the first.
They no longer wanted only dollars. They wanted real gold. Pressure on America started growing. Then came August 15, 1971. President Richard Nixon made a shocking decision. America would no longer exchange dollars for gold. Just like that, everything changed. The system collapsed. The dollar was no longer backed by gold. Suddenly, the whole world had a question. Why keep trusting the dollar? America had broken its promise. The future of the dollar looked uncertain. But then, something happened behind closed doors. Something that would save the dollar and change the global economy forever. By 1971, the dollar had a serious problem. It was no longer backed by gold. Trust in the system was fading. America needed a solution, fast. Because if countries stopped using the dollar, America could lose its power. Then, in 1974, something happened. Something most people never talk about. A secret deal was made. Not in Washington, not in New York, but in the desert of Saudi Arabia. At the time, Saudi Arabia was one of the world's biggest oil producers, and oil was becoming more important than ever. Every country needed it. Cars needed it. Factories needed it. Entire economies depended on it. America understood something important. If oil could somehow be connected to the dollar, then the dollar could survive. So the United States approached Saudi Arabia. The deal was simple. Saudi Arabia would sell oil only in US dollars. No matter who wanted oil, they had to pay in dollars. Yen? No. Euros? No. Gold? No. Only US dollars. In return, America promised protection, military support, weapons, security, and strong political ties. It was a powerful agreement. Soon, other oil-producing countries followed Saudi Arabia. OPEC adopted the same system. And just like that, the Petrodollar System was born. This changed everything, because now every country on Earth needed dollars. Why? Because every country needed oil. Japan needed dollars. China needed dollars. India needed dollars. Europe needed dollars. Even countries that disliked America still needed dollars. Suddenly, demand for the US dollar exploded. The dollar was no longer backed by gold. It was backed by something even more important: oil. The one thing every modern country could not live without. And because the whole world needed dollars, America gained something no other country had: the power to borrow money in its own currency. The power to print dollars and still have buyers. The system had been saved, but there was a hidden cost, and not everyone would pay the same price. Because while America benefited, other countries would eventually struggle. And that is where the story gets darker. By now, the dollar had become stronger than ever. Countries around the world needed it. Oil was priced in dollars. Trade depended on dollars. Global business depended on dollars. But this system gave America something very unusual, a special advantage no other country had. Economists even gave it a name: exorbitant privilege. It sounds complicated, but the idea is simple. Most countries cannot print money freely. If they print too much, their currency loses value. Prices rise. Debt becomes harder to manage. But America was different. Because the world needed dollars, countries kept buying US debt. Investors trusted the system, which meant America could borrow more and more money, even when debt kept rising. But there was a hidden problem. When America printed more dollars, the effects did not stay inside America. They spread across the world, especially to poorer countries. Here is why. Many developing countries borrow money in US dollars, but they earn money in their own local currency. At first, this seems normal, but then something dangerous happens. When the dollar becomes stronger, paying back debt becomes much harder. Suddenly, countries owe far more money than before, even if they borrowed the same amount. Countries like Argentina struggled with debt crises. Sri Lanka faced economic collapse. Zambia faced serious financial pressure. The stronger the dollar became, the harder life became for many nations. And then came another problem: the Federal Reserve, America's central bank. Whenever inflation rises in America, the Federal Reserve increases interest rates. This helps America control prices. But outside America, the impact can be devastating. Investors pull money out of developing countries and move it into the United States. Why? Because higher US interest rates mean safer returns. Money flows back to America. Economies weaken. Currencies fall. Debt becomes even more painful. So who really pays the price of this system? Not always America. Often, it is the developing world. The countries already struggling the most. But now, something is changing. Because some countries are starting to ask a dangerous question. What if we stop
depending on the dollar? And that question may change the future of the global economy forever.
For decades, the dollar remained on top. It powered global trade. Oil was bought in dollars. Countries stored dollars in their reserves. And America stayed at the center of the global economy. But today, small cracks are starting to appear. Some countries are asking an important question. What if the world no longer depends on the US dollar? What if there is another system? Slowly, some nations have started looking for alternatives, especially countries that want less dependence on America. Countries in the BRICS group, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, have started trading more in local currencies instead of always using dollars. China and Russia have increased trade without depending fully on the US dollar. India has also explored buying oil using different payment systems. Slowly, change has started, quietly, but steadily. Then came something even more surprising. Saudi Arabia, America's longtime partner, started showing signs of change. Reports suggested Saudi Arabia was open to accepting Chinese yuan for some oil sales. This may sound small, but symbolically, it was huge. Because the original deal that helped save the dollar was built on oil being sold in US dollars. If that begins to change, the system itself could slowly weaken. At the same time, China has been building alternatives, payment systems outside traditional Western control, new trade partnerships, new financial networks. Some experts believe this could slowly reduce America's financial dominance. But there is one important truth. The dollar is not collapsing tomorrow. It still remains the world's strongest currency. Most countries still trust it. Most global trade still depends on it. But for the first time in decades, serious questions are being asked. The petrodollar deal gave America something no country had ever seen before: the power to print money while the world continued buying it, the power to borrow endlessly while demand stayed strong, a system that shaped the global economy for more than 50 years. But every system has limits, and every empire eventually faces challenges. Today, the cracks are beginning to show. The real question is not whether the world will change. Change is already happening. The real question is this: who is building the next financial system while everyone else is still watching the old one? And when that change finally comes, who will benefit? And who will pay the price? Because history shows us one thing: the world never stays the same forever, and neither do empires.